Okay, good morning, everybody. Obviously, very disappointed in Saturday night. And you can look at it, and I've looked at the game 5 or 6 times and talked to our coaches, obviously, a number of times, and our team met with everybody, and the truth is it all falls on me. It's my fault. I hired every coach and staff member here. I've recruited every player that's here. I make the decisions for everything we do. I looked at last year's Wake Forest game where we won. We were excited and didn't play well the next week against Tech. I looked at the South Carolina game where we won. We were excited. We didn't play well against App State. So I knew this was a week after Miami where it looked like we wouldn't play well. We didn't play well against Virginia last year. We didn't play with high intensity, and we were lucky to win because our offense played well and won the game. And then you add that Virginia's 1-5. They've just won a game. They're on their off week, so they can put in a lot of new stuff. Be fresh when they're coming in. They've got absolutely no pressure. There's no buzz about the game. It's fall break. I mean, there were all kinds of check marks that say that this was going to be a tough one and a handful, and nobody thought it was, and that's usually when you're in trouble. And they had their team more excited about playing than I had ours. They coached better than I coached, and that's what happens. And you look around the country, Texas and OU games always a tough one. After that, it's hard to play. So OU has trouble and has to stop a 2-point play to beat Central Florida, who lost 3 games in a row. Texas has to stop Houston on the 10-yard line with 1 minute left to win the game, and both of them did that. Washington has got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's up for the Heisman. They didn't score an offensive touchdown, and they're running up and down the field against Arizona State. So it happens across the country. It's not different, but you got to find a way to win the game. We didn't play well against Appalachian State, but we found a way to win the game. And the defense intercepted the ball in the end zone. They stripped the ball going in at the 1. They stopped Virginia at the end of the game and gave us the ball back with 1:22. I thought we'd win the game. And that's who we are, and that's what we've done. And we didn't do it. So is it a bad loss? All losses are bad. All losses are bad. The loss to Clemson was bad. We lost a conference championship. We've only been in that game twice since '81, so that's a bad loss. Was the loss to Oregon bad? Yeah, they're a great team, and we had a lead and got beat with 19 seconds left. That's a bad loss. And I learned from Coach Stallings when he said, you think one's not a bad loss, try to lose it. It becomes a bad loss because none of them are good. Everybody expects you to win every game, and you expect to win every game. So where does the fall come? On me, 100%. That I didn't do a good enough job with our team and our coaches. And I let our team down, I let our coaches down, I let our staff down, I let our administration down, and I let our fans down. And our fans have been wonderful. And there's no other way to say it. That's just it, period. That's facts. And as a young coach, I probably couldn't stand up here and say that, but it's true. So I'm disappointed in me. And what you do is when you get disappointed, you get back up and you go to work. You try to take a negative and turn it into a positive. And that's what this week's about. It's you learn from losses. And our team, it's a great teachable moment for last week because we weren't didn't have as much energy as they did, and that gets you in trouble. Practice was good last week. I thought we'd handle it. It really was, and usually practice is the way you play. And then we did a lot of good things in the game. We just did a lot of things that you can't do and still win. But we had the better team. We didn't have the better team Saturday, and that's what matters. I learned from Dick Tomey many years ago. It's not the best team; it's the team that plays the best that day. That's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. And it was like their bowl game and their dream to come and be the top 10 team, and we allowed it. You can't do that. You just can't do that and be a top 10 team. Like I said, Washington, Texas, and Oklahoma, they overcame theirs at the end. Didn't play their best, but overcame it. We didn't. And we did against App State, so that's something you have to do to obviously to try to stay and be an undefeated team. Wasn't a typical performance for us on offense. Field position was horrible, starting out with a block to an unprotected player on the kickoff, opening kickoff. And when you're playing a team like Virginia that doesn't have a lot of confidence, you need to start fast. And we started horribly and gave them some confidence. We didn't start fast and we didn't finish fast. And those are the two things we talked about all week that we had to do. Of the 8 drives in the first half that we had, all of them were minus 25 or worse, and 3 of those drives were inside the 10, which doesn't give your offense a chance. And part of that's our defense not stopping them, and part of it's they average 50 yards per punt, and we average 33. And that was a huge difference in field position, and their ball bounced and bounced out at the 1 or the 2. So they did a good job of keeping us backed up with those 3 balls inside the 10 for sure. We didn't play good complementary football, and that's something we've really done. Our goal in the spring was to stop the run. We didn't. They rushed for over 200 yards. Our goal in the spring was to run the ball, got hats, run the damn ball, and we didn't. So we didn't do either. And I told the coaches this morning, we work on it every day in the spring, and then you've got a great back like Omari, and if you don't hand him the ball. And if your passing game's not hitting, go to something that is. We got enough good players that you got to do what you're doing best at that time. And Omarion was averaging 7.2 yards per carry, so get him the ball. Get him the ball. If we're dropping some balls and not protecting well, or if the passing game's off, go with what you're doing best. We said in the spring we had to be better on 3rd downs. The last 2 weeks we haven't been. It's because we're not throwing the ball as well. So we're getting in 3rd and long situations. Last week it was penalties. This week it was 3rd and long. So we were 4 of 13 on 3rd downs and 0 for 2 on 4th downs. And those are we were the best in the country, or 2nd best in the country 2 weeks ago. So we've got to go back and start doing those things better. Then we said red zone, both sides. We're 1 for 3 on touchdowns in the red zone on offense because you're not running the ball well. And we're 4 for 6. Gave up 4 touchdowns for 6 trips on defense, which is unacceptable. And the 2 they didn't score, we stripped the ball out. Armani Chapman stripped the ball out at the 1 and intercepted a pass. So they could have beaten us 2 more touchdowns if we don't strip the ball and intercept the ball. So those are facts. Those are ugly facts, but they're facts. And that's all stuff that we have to do better. We gave up 9 explosives, which is too many, but we did have 11. But we weren't consistent with offense at all. We allowed a touchdown drive on the first possession, which is the first time somebody scored at home in the first quarter all year. Again, we weren't ready to go. And we were up 24-14 in the 3rd quarter, and got to step up on defense and get a stop and get them off the field and try to extend that 10-point lead to 17. And they drive a 13-play drive for 74 yards, and we needed to step up. And we didn't at all. Really proud of Bryson Nesbitt and Tez Walker. They played great on offense. And it's a shame sometimes when you don't win the game, people talk about how bad everything is. They don't talk about good. And some guys, they played really, really well. Power Eccles played maybe his best game. And Stick Lane was an outstanding player on defense, as well as being an outstanding player on special teams. He was all over the field and played really well. And then Bo Atkinson had a strip fumble with the quarterback, and Armani Chapman had the strip that went out of the back of the end zone and gave us a chance to win the game, and the interception in the end zone. So he made a couple of plays that were really, really good for us. And then Noah Burnett, I think, is 10 for 10 in field goals. He continues to do a really good job for us. So proud of him. Penalty on the first play of the game with the first kickoff. A young guy hit a guy in the back. We can't do that. We were poor punting, inconsistent punting throughout the night. So again, our special teams really didn't help us. I thought without a guy that's kicked off, Coach Warren and the kickoff coverage team did a really good job of figuring out ways to kick off without having a guy that's ever kicked off before. So we skied one, we squibbed one, we kicked one deep, but they covered well. And that was a danger point going into the game that we did well. We nearly had a punt block, but we have two run into each other. I mean, that's just kind of the way the night worked out for us. Still, when you look at Cancer Awareness Week and game, it doesn't take away from the thought that these incredible young people had and our staff to give messages to somebody who had cancer that they're hoping feels better and knows that they care about them and that they love them. And my ball to Ramonda Jordan, Randy's wife, who's struggling with cancer, Cayman Rucker came and said, I want to give Eric Montross my ball because Eric's such a good person, it sounds like, and he means so much to this place, and he's got cancer, or whether it's Sue Waltz or Ken Leary or people that struggle. So sometimes we forget that the fact that recognition for people who have cancer and that you love them and you care about them is really important, even on a day where we lose a game. You start looking at, we're still a top 20 team. We would have been happy with the schedule we had. I saw the other day we had the 13th ranked schedule in the country with Power 5. At 6-1 and being ranked 17th in the country, we would have been pleased with that in September. Got to give our guys credit. They're still a factor, still have a lot of football to play. And even though we slipped up and had a disappointing Saturday, which we'd rather never have, there's only 6 left that are undefeated. And we were one of those 6 last week, and 2 of us got beat. So it's really, really hard to be undefeated. We do know that. And all these teams are about alike. You look at Georgia Tech beats Miami 2 weeks ago on the road. They lose to Boston College Saturday. Miami beats Clemson without their starting quarterback and their starting tailback in double overtime. So, I mean, just, man, go play. Go play. And you got to do it every week. Everybody's got players with the transfer portal. There's very few people are without players. And every week I'm starting to look at the roster and the depth chart of these teams we're playing, and there's transfers all over the place. And if you've made recruiting mistakes, you can catch up, and you can catch up fast. So, and we've used that some for us. But there's 10 one-loss teams that are left, and in those one-loss in Power 5, Adam, to make your
I think
question.
it's 15 overall, sorry.
Okay, I don't go overall. We're not in FCS or Group of 5. And of those one-loss teams in Power 5, Texas, Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, and Utah. So there's some pretty good folks in there that we're sitting in the same group with. There's 14 two-loss teams, and Duke is one of those. They've lost to Florida State and Notre Dame. They've lost to 2 really good teams, and I got to see some of Duke when I got home, and they're really good. And they had a quarterback that was struggling some, and they still were up 10-0 on Florida State. And I think it's 20-17 and in Tallahassee. So they're playing great defense. They can run the ball. I was really, really impressed with Duke watching them play. And then you've got Miami's a 2-loss team that just beat Clemson. Notre Dame is a 2-loss team. USC, Florida, Tennessee, and LSU. So a lot of folks out there that are losing some games that normally aren't in those positions as you look at it. Georgia Tech is a game that's been tough for us. We've lost 2 out of 3 since I've been here. We did win at Bobby Dodd Stadium our first year here. But in Atlanta hadn't been good to the Tar Heels. We've lost 10 of 12. Hear me now. We've lost 10 of the last 12 games in Atlanta to Georgia Tech. So everybody thinks we've got Miami's number because we've beaten them 5 in a row. Well, Georgia Tech's had North Carolina's number. And before I got here, in Atlanta. So that makes this a game that people should project that we lose, period, because we have. And 10 out of 12 is pretty good percentages. I flunked out of Vanderbilt, but it looks pretty good to me that we haven't done very well down there. So they'll be excited. That they'll feel like they're going to win because they have. and we'll have our hands full. We got to get back to work. Brent Key's done a great job. He's a Georgia Tech alum. He's pulled them all together, and they're playing really hard. And he'll have them ready to go and play them with a whole lot of energy. And we've got to do the same thing. And our game's at 8 o'clock at night, so that's another. We've had more night games this year than we've had, I think. This goes back to like when we were at Texas. Fans, get to it. We got a great group of fans in Atlanta. Come to the game and help us. If you're a fan that's frustrated because we lost the game, decide to go help. Get to Atlanta this weekend and help us. If you really care. There's a difference in yelling and caring. So with fall break, if you couldn't make it to the game Saturday, maybe you should have. Maybe you could help us a little bit. So think about how important it really is to you, not just how much you yell after a win or how much you stick your chest out after a win, how much you yell after a loss or how much you stick your chest out after a win. You can help us, and you have helped us. It hurt us that our students weren't there Saturday. They've made a huge difference in our fan base. So get to Atlanta and help us. And that's my last thought. Questions?
Mack, you've been in a lot of games, lost games, won games. Just how did you handle it Saturday night after the game? Were you able to sleep, or was it just such a tough loss to you?
No, they're all tough. You sit there and you wonder why you lost. That's my job is to go back and try to figure out, Chip, what happened. And what could we have done on Tuesday? How did we miss it? What happened Wednesday? Go back and look at Wednesday's practice again. And why did we? And I understand why we didn't have as much energy as they do. The older coaches have always told me you're going to have a lot of energy probably 4 times a year, and you're going to have to play good the rest of them. And we've already had energy more than 4 times. We've had to play because we've had a really tough schedule. So I got that. But you got to figure out ways to win, and that's our job as coaches. And if they're not going to have the same energy, how do you get them started? How do you start better? So my Saturday night is I watch the game, I watch the TV copy, I watch the game. So I stay up till about 4 or 5 in the morning because I just can't sleep, win or lose, because I need to see what happened. And then I'm responsible on Sunday for telling the players what I saw, telling the coaches what I saw, and trying to be really hard on them. I'm harder on myself than fans are. But I've got to be hard on me and then tell them, why didn't we do this? And why didn't we fix it? How did we miss that? And we can't miss it again. We got to fix it now. And there's a process of you've got goals. Well, the goals aren't any good unless you reach them. Why have goals if you don't reach them? So if we say we're going to stop the run, why didn't we? And if they're running the ball, why don't we put 11 up there? Make them throw it over our head. Come on, man. And we said, we got to get the ball to Omarion. That was one of the goals for the week. We didn't. Why didn't we? And we got great coaches on offense. They've done so well. Why didn't somebody on that offensive staff, why didn't I step up and say, come on, man, hand it to him more? Because you hate to get involved with play selection during a game, because I've done that. And it's hard to talk to a guy a lot while he's got a whole process and he's trying to figure out what he's doing up there. And sometimes you can have too much conversation. But that's my job. My job is to figure out, even if we win, what was good that we need to get better and what was bad that we do have to fix. Why was it bad and how do we fix it? And that's what I've been spending the last 2 days trying to do.
So what were the conversations like with respect to using Omari more when you go back and look in hindsight about maybe some of the things the staff could have done differently?
Just like we're having here. I'm at a stage in my life where I'm honest with everybody, facts. And I said he touched it 5 times in the second half. He's averaging 7.2 yards per carry. We had a 10-point lead. Defense should have stepped up. You didn't. Why didn't you? Why didn't you? Why didn't defense stop them when it's 24-14 and put us in a position right there to go up 17? Why not? That's what we're supposed to do. That's what you get paid for. And then offensively, why don't we kill some clock and run the ball some if we're not throwing it consistently? Why don't we do that? So, and you usually don't get many answers because the coaches are great people. They're great husbands. They're great fathers. They're crushed that we didn't do our job. they're crushed. So I mean, and here I am, I'm jumping on them, they're down. You all are jumping on them, media's jumping on them, fans are jumping on them, everybody's jumping on them. At some point on Tuesday, you got to start picking them up. And that's what we do, because it's, you got to figure out what's wrong, figure out why you didn't fix it. And usually, say, if I'd have realized it, I'd have fixed it. You get in the game, you know you got to win, you're trying to keep your top 10, you know things aren't working, and sometimes you don't handle things as well as you'd like to. And they're human beings, they're not video games.
Of all the things that were disappointing Saturday night, you just mentioned 24-14, defense goes on the field. They've stepped up in those situations through the first 6 games. Are you most disappointed that they didn't step up in that moment? Because that could have changed the game.
I'm most disappointed they didn't step in that. I'm not. I'm disappointed in a lot of stuff. I got a list. But I'm also excited that they stopped 2 touchdowns from happening that gave us a chance to win. So that's what you got to do. Everybody does something good, and usually in games, there's always stuff that's bad that you've got to fix. And when you win, people don't notice it and they let it go. If you lose, people are looking for every little thing that would have made a difference. And that's why you over-criticize on losing and you celebrate on winning. That's why I have to look at it like we lost every game. Because the coaches will walk in on Sunday all pumped, and I say, no, man, here's my list. Come on. Let's don't walk around because you're proud at dinner last night and everybody patting you on the back. Let's look at facts. But yeah, it was a complete loss by our whole team because everybody could have stepped up. But normally, in my experience, if you give up 228 yards rushing and rush for 143, they have the ball 37 minutes and you got it 23 minutes, you've lost the game. That's it.
Mack, just along those lines, staying on that, but what explanation did Chip give you for the lack of Omarion? And was it possible that, I mean, you're caught up in the game, he didn't realize that he didn't touch the ball as much as he probably should have?
Absolutely. These are human beings. He wants to win. Chip's a great guy. And he's done a tremendous job. And he's got Freddie Kitchens, who's brilliant, sitting there next to him. Sometimes you want to win so badly, you miss it. And that's just what happens. I've called him before, and you get through, and you say, God, how did I miss that? What happened? Why did I get away? And Drake's so good. When you're in trouble, you won't even pull you out. And then we drop some balls. I mean, so it's a hard job.
Matt, can you
It
explain?
is really a hard job, and people have no concept of how hard it is to call plays and call defenses because they've never done it. So it's unfair to ask people when you've got about 15 seconds and you're sitting up there and you're going fast and everything's happening. And I have to tell all the coaches to shut up because they're wanting to win, so they're all giving suggestions to the poor soul. Why don't we call this? I said, shut up and let him call the plays. You talk during timeouts. You talk when the offense is off the field. You don't talk to a coordinator while he's trying to think. But it's a hard job. And when we run up and down the field, everybody says, God, he did great, or said, no, or Drake's great. They don't get much credit, but they get a lot of criticism. Yes, sir.
Actually, you just answered my question, but I have another one. The esteemed Paul Feinbaum said that you have lost 11 times as a ranked team to an unranked team, seven in Carolina. What do you think about that?
I think it's been great that I've had that many ranked teams. That's pretty cool. Paul's giving me a compliment. So I don't worry about all that stuff. I try every week to win every game that we've got. And I've lost a bunch of them. I've won 280 and lost, 140 or something. So I mean, when people say this is the worst loss ever, and I said, no, I got a bunch of them. I got a long list of bad losses. So just if we want to get in the bad loss list, if you've coached 35 years, probably gonna have some bad losses. Or I'd have more wins than Newt Rockney or whoever's up there. I don't know who's up there. Yes, Chip.
I was going to say something that seems to be forgotten in a lot of this discussion is Virginia played pretty good.
Virginia played they're out of their minds.
When they fell behind, actually.
Yeah, no, they really did, and that's why when you've got a team that's struggling, you can't let them get confidence. They had no pressure. They're coming in to have fun. Their dream is to win the game. If everybody expects them to lose, so they can go do anything. They've had 2 weeks. I thought they changed a lot of things on offense and gave us some new looks and new formations and new motions, and I thought they really did a good job. So I don't want, because we didn't play well, I don't want to take away from what Tony and Virginia did, because they did a good job.
Musk made it like a 20-yard run. In that possession, they got him back in the game.
He really did.
Second long.
And he made some good throws. They hit a wheel route. Power had him covered perfectly, and he hit him. And they did some. Ford played really well. He caught 12 balls. You can't let him catch 12 balls. We knew he was a really good player coming in. So really, the quarterback and Ford are the two that beat us.
What does Tech do well offensively?
They're a lot like Virginia. Last year they're going to run the ball. They've got a new quarterback, Haynes King from at Texas A&M. His dad's a high school coach in East Texas, and he can fly. He's a track guy, and he ran for 150 yards last week. So we let Virginia's run down the field, and this one runs faster than him as we look at it. So and they've got great speed. They've got the best speed of anybody at wide receiver that we've seen. They can fly. They're all 10-something 100-meter guys, so they're really, really fast.
Mack, did you see the response on Sunday in the team meetings that you felt you wanted to see after the game, that the guys seemed like they would be able to put this one behind them?
Not yet. They were crushed. And I don't usually do very well on Sunday after a loss. You all see me after a game. I don't usually help them much. I'm usually too factual after bad games. So I've got to pick them back up today and tomorrow, and I got to start now and pick it back up. And that's one of the great things about this press conference. This kind of ends my last week and starts the next week. I won't see the players today, but I'll see them at 6:30 in the morning, and we got to go to work.
Kind of going off of that, what did you learn from last year and how the team kind of had that one loss to Georgia Tech snowball into a losing stretch at the end of the year that you kind of want to approach differently this year?
Yeah, I don't think it snowballed. State was good. That came down to a missed field goal in double overtime. Those games have been good. The year before is the same. Clemson was better than we were, and we tried hard. I thought the game was better than the score. We lost 3 turnovers. It ended up being they blocked a field goal. We fumbled at the 24 with Omarion and had an interception for a touchdown. So that's a 17-point swing. But we played hard, and then against Oregon, we played our tail off with 7 guys gone on defense, an offensive coordinator, and an offensive line coach. So if you look at it, I thought way too much has been made of the 4-game losing streak at the end. Losing to Georgia Tech was a game that we were up 17-0, and that game is very much like this game Saturday night. It's the same game to me. We didn't have the same energy as they did, and they did a better job managing their stuff than we did. But you can't let one game beat you twice. Everybody been patting these guys on the back for 6 weeks. That won't happen this week. That when they go out and eat, that it won't be the same looks. People will be staring at them instead of hugging them. There's a difference. That's just the way it is. That's the way our world is. Michael, you had something else?
Yeah. Do you think the guys might play a little freer this coming week against Georgia Tech now that sort of they've gotten, the trap game, so to speak, behind them?
It's hard to tell because you're talking about 120 guys. So when you say, are they going to play, who? I mean, each one of them's different. They play different. They have different feelings, different emotions, different things happening in their lives. So you never know how they're going to play. I thought they played hard Saturday night. They didn't play with the same energy that they did the week before. And how does that balance out? What percentage is that per kid? I don't know. You just look at it. But I didn't. Our crowd didn't have the same energy. The game didn't have the same energy. We didn't have the same energy. I think our coaches probably didn't have as much energy as theirs. I wasn't on their sideline, but they were free and turn it loose. And I'm sure our guys felt pressure to stay undefeated, and they felt pressure to go top 10. But now you got to be pressured to try to win more games. So there's pressure in this business. There's pressure if you're 1-5. You don't want to be 1-6. So Aaron?
Mack, I have a portal question for you. We've seen some teams, when they're trying to find a quarterback, they go in the portal, and maybe it works, or maybe it doesn't, and they're back in the portal again. You guys have had struck gold in terms of homegrown, you recruited, and you were able to develop. Do you evaluate the quarterback position differently than when you're looking at a receiver, like you've done, or filling spots? And, is it one of those things that you want to make sure you hit on a quarterback so you don't have to go in the portal for quarterbacks, since that can be sort of a revolving wheel?
Yeah, Aaron, it's a good thought. What we've got is Lonnie Galloway played quarterback. He's been a coordinator, a Chip coordinator. Freddie Kitchens been a coordinator and head coach in the NFL, coach quarterbacks. Clyde Christensen. We've got them looking at every day, looking at the quarterbacks on our campus and evaluating them every day. And then we have them looking at high school guys to make sure that we have the right evaluation. And then with a portal guy, number one, nobody's in the portal, so you're sitting there wondering who's getting in. You can't tamper. Some do, but we're not going to call somebody and say, if you get the portal, we'll take you. That's not legal. And then you've got to make sure that you try to get a guy that's experienced, and you try to get a guy that does what you want to do offensively as much as you can. But we're not experienced in the quarterback portal business. We've been really lucky to have Sam and Drake. So that's all new for us and stuff that we're evaluating right now, whether we should do that or not.
Is there added value of all the positions to hit in recruiting, maybe quarterback, so that you're able to groom a guy over a couple of years, maybe have him ready, as opposed to, like I said, dipping into the portal in what could be a revolving door if you miss?
Yeah, no question. What Lincoln Riley hit on 3 and they all won a Heisman or something. It was so weird and strange to do that. Yeah, that's a big question mark. And we played in tight games, so you had trouble getting your guys in to let them see and let them play. At least with Jacoby and Drake, we got them. They both played half of a game. Was that Wofford? Yeah, they both played half of the Wofford game 2 years ago. And Jacoby would be that guy right now if he hadn't transferred. So that's kind of got our numbers where we've got that older void at quarterback that would fill in for Drake.
You talked before about just the, I guess, uniqueness of the special team situation with Cole and, Kiernan being out and things like that. But how does that impact, if at all, preparation just from a practice standpoint, figuring out best guys for kickoffs and even the, second string punter, like that? How does that kind of impact preparation for season?
Yeah, Jeremiah, that's another great question. You got to be careful that they don't overkick now, because there's fewer of them, and everybody gets a pull or gets a sore leg or they're tired. And you see that Tom's first game, he was so excited, and then the second game, it didn't go as well for him. So then and Cole Maynard came in and punted the last punt, did a good job. So now those two compete this week. But you're looking at Noah, with him kicking field goals. Would you rather not have him kicking off and kicking field goals? What if he pulls a muscle? Then you've lost your kicker. So you're trying to get Liam back for the kickoffs. So that's 35 years. I've never seen anything like this, brother. I mean, it's a new one for me. So, but it is what it is. So they're not going to cancel games. We still got to play.
You mentioned, I think it was last week, grading the punters every week, during practice. What are some of the things that you're like grading them for? Like, what are some of the main, kind of components? Is it air time? Or
Yeah. You look at operation time. They got to get it off. They got to catch it and get it off, and that's your snapper and your punter. And you look at ball location. So you don't want the ball in the middle of the field, because you got a chance to return it with the whole field. You want to cut down the field in thirds. So you'd like to have it near the numbers. And then you've got to look at height. How long does the hang time and length? How far can you extend it down the field? But you want to get it up so you get a chance to cover it.
After watching the film, was it just an off night for Drake, or how would you characterize some of the misses that he had there?
I'll let Chip handle that with you, because he's met with him. I haven't. But Drake's so good, he's one of those that if there's ever a ball that's not perfect, we all say, what's wrong with him? Because he still threw, 4 touchdowns or 3 or something. I mean, he still had an unbelievable night, and we dropped more balls. We're not used to dropping balls. So, but that's why your running game needs to help you when you're out of sync in your passing game.
Mack,
You got to be good at something.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Just a follow up for AJ there. Like I was thinking about it. Like you saw the comment a couple weeks ago. I think it was a scout that said it's like Caleb Williams trying to hit a 5-run home run every time he throws a pass. Like does it get to a certain point with a guy of Drake's level? I don't know that you have to. I know we can get into it with Chip, but do you have to sort of guard against that? The wanting to be too perfect every single time. Do you think he could be pressing in some ways?
I press. I'm 72 years old, and I want us to win all the games, and I'm crushed when we don't. And we're out of the top 10. I was so proud. Still proud, but I wanted to be 8th this week, or 7th or 5th, and keep moving. So I put tremendous amount of pressure on myself to make sure that we continue to grow, and we didn't. We took a step back. So I can't imagine a 21-year-old with the pressure that's on Caleb or on Drake, and every day they're talking about Heisman, every day they're talking about every little thing they do, and pros, and where they're going to be drafted, and how they're going to be drafted, and pressure on the team, and you got to play well, you got to practice every day, and they're human beings. They're kids in school, and we forget that. We project them into something they're not. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for all this hype. But they can handle it, and Drake handles it. He'll be back at work. He'll be competing harder tomorrow than he's competed all year, because he knows he wasn't happy with the outcome of the game. And that's really, when he says the main thing's the main thing, that's all that matters. We can have all this discussion. You have to find ways to win games. We did that at App State when we didn't play well. We didn't do that Saturday night, and we got close. I mean, with 3:50 left, I thought, yeah, we're good. We're good. This is who we are. And then with 1:22 left, I thought defense stopped them, which was great, gave us a chance. Georgia Tech last year, they didn't stop. They let the clock run out. So it was the same thing, but this year they stopped them, gave us the ball back. We'd saved our timeouts, so we used those wisely. We had a chance to win the game at the end, and we just didn't.
Unrelated topic. Is your sales pitch easy or tough this week? Because you can still achieve all the goals that you probably discussed back in August so often. So it would seem that would be easy because they're all still there. But do you kind of pitch to them a little different coming off this kind of performance?
I'll do some of this. I mean, I'll show them. There's some others out there that didn't have great Saturdays either. I'll show them that there's some that didn't play well but won. And that's the difference right now in us. We'd still be a top 10 team if we found out a way how to drive with 1:22 left and score. And we wouldn't be having these discussions. So yeah. But we tell them every day, you got to get rid of it, win or lose. You got to learn from losing. And we've been hard on them about winning. I was harder last week on them for the Miami game than probably any we've had that we won. It was a big game in people's minds for sure. So, but they've got today's to get rid of it and start on Georgia Tech. And they'll see the Georgia Tech beating Miami. We'll go back and show them that. And they got to understand, but they'll see our game with the Georgia Tech last year. That took a lot away from us. So even though we played some really good teams at the end, that one's talked about the most.
Does your vast experience tell you that the psychology last week was more challenging than the psychology with them this week?
Absolutely. Last week was a nightmare, and I failed. And I tried, man. I pulled out every stop for 35 years, every little thing I could do, and I didn't get it done, so I failed. It's just
Matt, can you clarify? Thank you for explaining what goes on with everybody on the headset, but I know the game plan wasn't for Hampton to run the ball 5 times in the second half. Is there a way that you can say, or is the game plan in the hands of other people at that time? Is there a way that you can say, run the damn ball in the headset and make a change in the middle of the game?
Yeah. And I said I failed. I failed in so many different ways. But I didn't do my job.
Mac, I got one other question in light of the news last week about in-person scouting and sign stealing potentially. I'm curious how pervasive you think that is in college football, how much you account for it, and how damaging can it be if you think someone may have your signs?
It's prevalent, and it's awful. It's very damaging. And we know we've played against some people that have had our signs. And what we should do next year, and they're looking at it, and I hope we'll do it, is go to the communication system from the sideline to the helmets of the quarterback, and then you've got no more signals. And that's thrown out. So that we should have done that 20 years ago. And we didn't do it because we were voting at all levels, and some of the lower levels couldn't afford it. And they wouldn't put the rule through because they said if North Carolina can afford it and West Carolina can't, and we're all voting for football, then we're not going to have it. But I do think we'll have that next year. They're looking at it right now, and probably the latest news will speed it up.
Matt,
Yes, Michael, go ahead. And then we'll get you.
with Georgia Tech, they've won 3 games against ranked teams in the last 2 years, all on the road. Is there something that they do or something in Brent Key's coaching style you think that allows them to make up for some of the talent disparity that is there? Do they take on his personality in the?
Yeah, I don't know. We're one of them, so I'll have to ask him. I'll ask him before the game. Why'd you beat us? Sometimes too, and I did think we deserved to be 10th. Sometimes when you're rated, we got beat as a ranked team a couple of years ago, and we weren't even good. And that was preseason ranking. So, I mean, some of these things are a little bit of a farce. And I've always said, I said the media, when the media picks us and they're wrong, nobody grades you all.
We're never wrong.
You're never wrong, that's it, because you got the pen.
I'm not a voter.
You can make it right. Chip?
I was gonna say, you mentioned before last year that you really relied on Josh Downs a lot and almost focused in on him too much, even though it's only been a couple of games. Is it starting to be that way with Tez a little bit because of him being a game breaker?
No, that's a good question, Chip. The question right now is how are people going to play us? We didn't have any idea. Virginia with a week off and they'd seen Tez. We didn't have any idea what they were going to do in the game plan. We're going to start seeing, coaches are parrots. I mean, they're going to sit and watch somebody else and they're copycats. So you're going to start seeing. So what happened at the end of last year when Georgia Tech blitzed us so much and got to Drake, they were either blitzing or dropping 8. Then we had 3 weeks of blitzing or dropping 8. That's just what it was, and we didn't handle it very well. So we got to get a feel. We think we'll have a better field this week, but Tez is such a prominent factor. Now, when he walks on the field, we probably won't know till that first quarter how Georgia Tech's going to play us, and it changes the entire look of your defense because they're going to try to get 2 around it.
He had like 19 targets, so 18 or 19.
Yeah. Yep.
Going to him a lot.
Yep. He's good.
Matt, when you went back and watched some of the tape and just some of the conversations you had yesterday, what do you think led to some of those drop passes that I think McCollum more doubled his career drops in just that one game against Virginia?
I don't ask them because that's Coach Galloway's job to meet with them individually. I meet with the group. Normally my experience has been, number one, they feel awful. Number 2, they have no idea. It's like asking me why I didn't coach better. I tried. Why'd you drop balls? I don't know. I just did. So these are human beings and a lot of gray. And a lot of things just aren't, why did you fumble? Well, obviously I didn't hold on to it well enough. Why'd you miss a tackle? I tried, Coach. I didn't ask you if you tried or not. I knew you tried. Why'd you miss a tackle? And you can't get answers. When you ask Chip, why didn't you hand the ball more to Omar, it seems pretty simple. He had a lot of things going on around him. So sometimes you don't realize he'll do it this week. I mean, that's what you do. But should we have done it? Yes. Should we have caught the ball better? Yes. If we'd have known how to stop that or start that, we'd have done that Wednesday instead of Saturday. We have plans, and sometimes those plans change. I do think the hardest job in college football is probably the play caller. Because there aren't many people that love being defensive coordinators, but they just love to yell at the defensive coordinator if you don't stop them. Everybody loves to call plays. And man, everybody can call them that haven't called them. And it's a whole lot easier to call them when you don't have information. It's a whole lot easier. And it's a whole lot easier to call them after it's done. I've had some of those 4th and 2, the 4th and 5 at minus 47. I go for it and don't make it. I'm sitting there saying, God, shouldn't have done that. And there were 50,000 saying, God, he shouldn't have done that. I said, yeah, if we'd have made it to God, I love that aggressiveness in that guy. He goes after it, man. So that's the life you live as a coach. But if we didn't have wonderful fans that love coaching and questioning, we wouldn't have a job. I mean, that's true. I've always said, I'd rather somebody, the difference in our fans being upset over a loss now and not caring at all when we got here 5 years ago is what you want. You want people who are passionate. You want people who care. You want people who hurt to lose. You want people proud of your top 10 team. And instead of people who are complacent and don't care. So I don't mind people being aggressive. I don't mind people questioning. I don't mind people being angry. That's a whole lot better than not caring. It's a whole lot better than not caring. I don't take it as pressure. I take it as pride. You got pride in your program, it's harder to lose because you get disappointed when you do.
All right, gang. Thank you, Coach. Thank you.